What's up folks, Phil Meyer here with an updated version of one of my prior videos. This covers the optional side quest, The Greatest Story Never Told in Final Fantasy XIV. This quest is like a giant scavenger hunt. There are no quest markers, and each playthrough is different. There's a lot of detail to cover here, so please use the time codes and extra details in the video description if you need help with something specific. You can pick up this quest in the area between Vesper and Horizon, south of the Silent King. The quest becomes available after completing the main scenario quest, The Ultimate Weapon. Here you'll meet Valiant Heart, who is exploring the statue. He'll tell you about a valuable treasure that has been hidden by an explorer called Winnebaud. Valiant Heart is frustrated with Winnebaud's cryptic clues. He offers to share some of the treasure with you if you help him find it. Agree to help and Valiant Heart will give you Winnebaud's first clue, which is a listing of elements paired with one of 3 random codes. Make note of the specific code you got. You'll also be told that someone called Yayaroku may be able to help. Your first course of action should be to find Yayaroku. He can be found in the Thaumaturge guild in Ul'dah. Yayaroku will tell you that the elements are ordered incorrectly, and he will give you the corrected ordering. He'll give it to you in the form of a passage from a book, and you can read through this to understand that the order should be lightning, fire, earth, ice, water, and wind. You can then use the corrected ordering to rearrange the codes from your clue to reveal the location of another place in the game. There are 3 possible locations that you can be directed to. Oschon's Embrace is in Lower Noscea. Florentel's Spire is in the North Shroud. Thal's Respite is in Eastern Thanalan. Your next task is to go to the specific location you are directed to. Explore the location and you will find the Novice Explorer. Talk to the Explorer, and if you are at the right location, he will give you Winnebaud's travel log. With Winnebaud's travel log in hand, you can return to Valiant Heart to reveal the next clue. The second clue is another code and the name of a character who can help you decipher it. The code and character you need to find will be different on each playthrough. The next task is to find the character you've been directed to and get a hint for how to decipher the code. If you've been directed to Isouda, you can find her in Candlekeep Quay, which is in Lower Noscea. Isouda will tell you that Winnebaud once said, "The opposite of nonsense is sense." This hint is meant to help you understand that you can reverse the order of the characters in your code to reveal the location of another place in the game. If you've been directed to Jahelle, you can find her in Fallgourd Float. This is in the North Shroud. Jahelle will say that Winnebaud once told her, "I've learned the letters of mathematics, but alas, not the grammar." The letters of mathematics is meant to give you a hint that you can replace the numbers in your code with letters. So 01 is A, 02 is B, and so on. Using this to decipher your code will reveal the location of another place in the game. If you've been directed to Memenugu, you can find him in Fesca's Wash, which is in central Thanalan. Memenugu will remember that Winnebaud once said, 2 steps forward and 1 step back, over and over until the end. This is an algorithm for how to decipher the code in your clue. By 2 steps forward, Winnebaud means that for the first 2 letters in your code, you need to increase their values by 1. By 1 step back, he means that for the 3rd letter, you need to decrease its value by 1. Repeat this process on your code, taking 3 letters at a time, and it will reveal the location of another place in the game. Regardless of whether you are directed to Isouda, Jahelle, or Memenugu, you should now have a deciphered code, which reveals the location of another place in the game. Search this location for 3 question marks to find Winnebaud's next message. There are 9 different locations that you could be directed to. Since the game assigns one at random per playthrough, trying to capture each one with accuracy is unrealistic. So please see the video description for the coordinates of your location on the world map. Once you've found the next hint, you can return to Valiant Heart for the next clue. The next clue will be yet another code and a tip that you may be able to find help at the Marauders Guild. Again, the code that you receive here will be different for each playthrough. Your next task is to go to the Marauders Guild, which is in the upper decks of Limsa Luminsa. On a bookshelf in the guild, you'll find another spot marked by 3 question marks. Examine this spot for a hint that refers to situational emotion. Let's take a look at the code I got with the 3rd clue and see if we can figure this out. You'll notice the code has several letters that are capitalized in what seems like a random way. If you look at these letters on their own and consider the hint about showing emotion, in Final Fantasy XIV, emotion is shown through emotes. In my case, the letters could be rearranged to form the word rally, which is an emote. Perhaps the rally emote will be used somewhere, but where would that location be? Looking at my code in its entirety, Fenil really stands out here. Through a little research, I found out that Fenil is the name of the Leatherworkers Guild in Gridania, which is where my next hint would be found. Deciphering your code will work in much the same way. Rearrange the capital letters to form the name of an emote. Then try to relate your code in its entirety to the location in the game. Just like the previous puzzle, there are 9 different locations you could be directed to. Please see the video description for more detail on finding the hint at your location. Once you've deciphered the names of the emote and location from your code, your next task is to go to that location in the game and search it. Somewhere at that location, you will find another mysterious spot marked by 3 question marks. In my case, I found them under the bridge leading to the Leatherworkers Guild. What you need to do next is target the mysterious spot and perform the emote that you deciphered from your code. If you did this correctly, it will reveal Winnebaud's next message. Return to Valiant Heart with the message, speak with him, and examine the statue to discover the 4th clue. The 4th clue says that if sword plus sword equals dagger, then return to me with something, and that something is what will vary for each playthrough. The clue also states that the Master of the Markets has Winnebaud's list. The next thing to do is to get Winnebaud's list from the Master of the Markets. You will need to head to your home city-state's market. This is the city in which you began the game, and find the Master of the Markets there. This will be Cesaroga in Ul'dah, Pars Montret in Gridania, or Swatsblade in Linsaluminsa. The Master of the Markets will give you a list which is a mapping of numbers to words. Make note of this list as we're going to need it in just a moment. The next task is to interpret the code sword plus sword equals dagger, so let's do that now. Since sword and dagger are used together in a statement of addition, it might imply that the letters are actually stand-ins for numbers. Sword has 5 characters and dagger has 6 characters. The statement seems to imply that when you take a specific 5-digit number and add it with itself, it will equal a 6-digit number. Adding a number to itself is the same as doubling it. All 6-digit numbers that you get by doubling a 5-digit number will start with 1. That means that D must be 1. By replacing the D's with 1, we can see that 1 plus 1 equals R. That means that R must be 2. Replace the R's with 2 and you'll get 2 plus 2 equals E, which means that E must be 4. The next few characters are harder to work out as we don't know what O and G are. Something that will help us is knowing that when a number is added to itself, the result will be an even number. This means that G must be an even number. We've already used the numbers 2 and 4 for the other characters, so that means that G must be 6 or 8. However, G cannot be 8 because that would require O to be 4, and we've already used that number for another character. That means that G must be 6, which means that O is 3. Now that we know that G is 6, that means that W must be 8. 8 plus 8 is 16, which means we're carrying the 1 to the next digit. That means that 1 plus S equals 1A. At this point, only the numbers 0, 5, 7, and 9 have yet to be used. We can try using each of these numbers for S, and through process of elimination figure out which one is right. We know that S can't be 0, as that doesn't fit with A and D. 5 won't work either, as that would require A to be 1, and we've already used 1 for the letter D. 9 won't work for S either, as that would require A to also be 9. The only solution is for S to be 7, which would mean that A is 5. Hope you're still with me at this point, as that was probably the hardest part of this quest. So now we have the number to letter mappings, and we also have Winnebaud's list, which maps numbers to words. Now remember, the 4th clue required you to find an item that was coded by 2 letters. Use the letter to number mappings that we've just figured out to convert your letters to numbers. In my playthrough, I was required to find an S of A, which when converted to numbers is 7 of 5. Now, using Winnebaud's list, we can look up what those numbers are. So 7 of 5 is Ring of Sunstone, which in the game is called a Sunstone Ring. If you see the video description, you'll find a list of what item goes with your code. There are 16 possible combinations, but only 9 of them are used by the game. All of the items can be purchased at the jewelry shop in Ul'dah. Return to Valiant Heart, equip the item, and examine the statue. This will reveal the last part of Winnebaud's cryptic poem. Talk to Valiant Heart again, and he's still not sure what to make of this, but he will be able to arrange the poem into its correct order. Winnebaud's latest messages and the corrected poem make up the 5th and final clue. Winnebaud's messages refer to beginnings and endings. He's telling you as well that he has given you the key to the lock that lies behind his obfuscations. If you look at the beginning letters of each line of his poem and put them together with the ending letters, this will make up 2 words, which is Copper Gorget. This is the key that Winnebaud is referring to, and the lock is the statue itself. What you need to do is buy a Copper Gorget from any of the Battlecraft stores in the 3 main towns. Then equip it and move to the rear of the statue. There you will find a mysterious spot. After examining the spot, you'll be rewarded with Winnebaud's treasure. The treasure is 10 gil, an in-game achievement, and some lines of poetry. Was all this worth it? Thanks for sticking around until the end of the video. I hope it helped you out. If you enjoyed it, please consider hitting that like button. It helps the channel out and I'd really appreciate it. Take care, everybody.